Hi Loonies, welcome to As We Speak, Luna Yoga Studio's very own podcast, ou en français, le balado-diffusion de Luna Yoga. Ceci est le deuxième épisode. I'm Léa Perret, a yoga teacher at Luna and a PhD student in mental health at McGill University. For this interview, I'll be talking to Anna Kowaleski. Anna, I hope I didn't just butcher your name, and if I did, I hope you'll forgive me. I've known Anna for quite a few years now, but we haven't had the opportunity to chat too much in the past year. So I was delighted to be able to catch up with her. Here's my conversation with Anna. All right, so super happy to be talking to Anna today.
So happy to be talking to you too.
Yeah, it's been a while. So this is coming right after the interview with Jen.
Mm-hmm.
And so most of you probably don't know this, but Anna and I did our yoga teacher training at Luna together, which was 4 years ago.
It's crazy to think it was that long ago.
Yeah, I can't believe it. It means we've been teaching for, 4 years since then. It's a long time.
Yeah, it seems like such a long time, but also like no time has passed at all.
That's true. It went by pretty fast. Like I think we both dove into teaching quite fast, and you with acro yoga, which we'll talk about in a bit. And so you were teaching classes several times a week, I remember.
Yep.
And then you had a baby.
Yep.
A baby. Yeah.
Felix.
And now you're back teaching at Luna on Tuesday mornings.
Yep.
Pretty early. Yeah, 7:30.
I mean, when you have a baby, like 7:30 is sleeping in. So
That's true. Things change, huh?
You'll find that out soon.
Very soon. So I wanted to ask, since it's been, I guess, a few weeks now, how does it feel to be teaching at Luna? I know it's a bit specific circumstances, teaching online, for example. Can you tell me a little bit about how that feels?
It feels actually really good. I know some teachers have a really hard time with the online platform of feeling like there's a lack of connection, but teaching online, I actually can feel, it doesn't feel like just talking to a screen. It actually, like, you can kind of feel, and especially like I've been trying to like greet people as they come in, so you know the faces from the studio, so you can kind of feel their virtual energy, which is good. But it's been good. It feels good it's like riding a bicycle. You just hop back on, and just having something else to think about besides just focusing on baby all the time is like really healthy for my mind.
Yeah, and how old is your baby now?
He's 8 months old.
Oh.
Yeah, so we're actually planning, I was actually supposed to go back to work by now, like full time, but because of COVID, it's switched. So I'm happy that I'm technically on mat leave till August, but I'm happy I've been able to start incorporating 1 or 2 classes a week back into my schedule.
Cool. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, the situation has changed a lot for a lot of people. But before I get a little bit more into quote unquote like serious talks, got so many questions for you. I wanted to know, how did you guys pick the name Felix, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah. Well, we don't really have a cool story. My husband is French and I'm English, so our requirements were that it's perfectly bilingual because he has some family doesn't speak English. My family does not speak French, so we don't want to have the grandparents having to butcher their grandchild's name. So we just kind of, and I didn't want anything that was too popular. So if it was on the top 50, I didn't want it. So between those criteria and just like us vetoing each other's choices, we only had like 7 or 8 choices in total. So kind of that was the top of our list. And then once he came out, we're like, yeah, that's a good name for him.
Yeah, we're having a same kind of process of choosing the name. Is, it's got to work in Arabic, it's got to work in French, and it's got to work in English as well, and they can't sound too different from one another depending on the language. So it just narrows it down quite a bit, which is also nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So yeah, and I was wondering how your yoga practice has changed, because we know that, I say we, I know that pregnancy changes quite a lot of things. Your body changes so much.
Yeah.
And then, going through childbirth changes a lot of things as well. And I'm guessing not just physically, but mentally as well. I wonder how your yoga practice has evolved through this whole adventure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it definitely evolved. The thing is, we tend to think of like our yoga practice sometimes as quite static if we practice a lot. But the fact is, no matter whether you experience pregnancy or not, your body is always changing. Like as we age, as we get injured, or just have different jobs or different ways of living, like our bodies are going to change. It's just pregnancy and birth are so amplified, like extreme change within such a short period of time, that it really just kind of blows up what you think is happening. So definitely just, just being in your body. Just, I found pregnancy really disconnecting. I know a lot of women say they feel very connected to their body when they're pregnant. I felt the opposite. I had spent the previous 5 years getting into a super active vinyasa practice, like being really strong, really fit, feeling really great in my body to, you as a pregnant woman can understand, like you don't always feel so great. And I felt really disconnected. So then I gave birth. I had a C-section, so that increases the amount of time, the trauma to your body. They literally cut through your core. So your core muscles, which we use for everything in vinyasa, like essentially building my body, not to where it was, but completely new again. So that's just a lesson in itself, just of being really compassionate to your body. And now I'm 8 months postpartum, so I'm finally starting to feel in my body again and of getting more connected.
Yeah.
But even the practice of getting onto the mat is completely different. Once you have a baby, your brain is split always. So just the act of getting on your mat, sometimes that's enough, and even with COVID, it's been even harder because, I was just, as it hit, I was just getting comfortable with leaving for longer periods of time, of going to the physical yoga studio where you have that physical space to be like, this is my practice. So, I mean, being on the mat at home when you can hear your screaming baby in the next room is a completely different thing. So it's definitely completely overhauled my whole yoga practice.
If you were to kind of summarize what we've just talked about into kind of 3 things that you've learned through your yoga practice during this time, and that can include, pregnancy, being a mom, and during these particular times, what would they be, those 3 things?
I think most of them relate back to not the asana itself, not the physical practice of yoga, but coming back to like those main principles of why we practice yoga. So one would definitely be like patience and compassion, like that patience and compassion that we often very quickly offer up to other people. We're a lot slower to give to ourselves. So when you step onto your mat, offering that to yourself. So if your practice does not look like it did yesterday, or if you're just having an off day, if you can't focus, like just allowing yourself to feel patience and compassion, and that can change your whole practice instead of beating yourself up the entire time. I would also say listening and being present. Like, I mean, principle number 1 of yoga, but just like you can't be compassionate to yourself if you're not listening to yourself, if you're not taking that time to actually be like, how is my body feeling? How am I feeling? What do I need from my practice? Because it's so easy, especially when we do a lot of flow, like it's automatic, right? You can, I'm sure you can relate. I can go through a flow class, a standard flow class, and not listen at all. Like you just once in a while glance at the teacher and you kind of know what's going on. So taking the time when you step onto your mat to actually be like, how is my body feeling? How do I need to modify for my body? And then on the same note, then letting go of expectations of your practice. So you listen, and then you know, like I said, your body is not the same. Without pregnancy or giving birth or anything, your body is different every time you step onto a mat. So I had to let go through pregnancy and giving birth of, I'm just starting to get back into an inversion practice now. And, you know, like ego, when you're on the mat and you're seeing all these other people going upside down and like, I can do it. Maybe I could do it, but is it what my body needs in that moment? Is it what's good for me? Like actually letting go of that expectation of what you think you should be doing in your practice.
Being able to listen is so important, putting your ego aside. And that's definitely something that I'm learning through the pregnancy, as week after week, discovering more and more things that I cannot do, or being told that I shouldn't do some things. I think that's the hardest thing.
It's funny, speaking of like pregnancy and things you shouldn't do, I remember I was teaching a class and I forget how pregnant I was. But at that point, I had still been practicing inversions, like fine. And I hadn't tried to do a tripod headstand in a while. I was teaching a class, and I remember Jen was in the back because she was laughing so hard. And I went to like demo a tripod headstand. And then I also realized I couldn't do it. So I was like trying to lift up and I just couldn't. I'm like, or you can just stay in teddy bear with your knees on your arms. It was like after class, and I was just laughing so hard. She's like, I saw you go into it. And she was like, I was like, nope. But I tried to do it anyways. But yeah, so again, just like that moment of like, listen, like you're different every day. Especially, and that's very accelerated through pregnancy.
Yeah, for sure. Really starting to feel it. I had that moment this week when I was taking Francis's class and we were doing standing splits. And simply because my belly is too big now, I couldn't do a standing split because my belly was really pressing against my leg and it really didn't feel good. And that's usually a posture that I really like. And so I got so annoyed, like I was just so frustrated. And then I kind of, I was all wrapped up in my emotions, and then kind of realized that that's what was happening. And I think that's why I love yoga so much too, is that it just brings you more awareness to these moments when it's happening. So it's, being a yogi is not about being super relaxed and cool all the time, to me, but more about being able to notice when you're having these moments where you're either all up in your head or you're stuck in your emotions, and being able to be aware of these things allows you to take a step back and be like, oh, okay, this is happening. What is happening? Is this just ego? I just need to let go of something here. And that was the case that day, and I just needed to take Uttanasana instead, and that's okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's what makes yoga different than any other like physical exercise, right? We could all go do a stretching class, but it's, what is your asana? What is your physical body teaching you about the world, about your mental space, about your emotional capacity?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And pregnancy, again, just accelerates all that, brings it all to the surface.
And this is the end of part 1 of my conversation with Anna. I split out the conversation in 2 different parts because in part 2, we're diving into a completely different topic, discovering another side of Anna, and it was really fun for me to pick her brains on that special topic. So please join us and listen to us in part 2 as we speak about something quite different, however, always relating it to yoga. Hope you check it out. Namaste.